Good afternoon and welcome to another match of the round here in the Northern New South Wales NPL men's competition on the Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel, live and free throughout the season. All of your men's and women's NPL first and reserve grade matches. And what a venue it is this afternoon, what a day and a storyline we have in front of us at Fernley Dawes Athletics Field. Cookshill United come in absolutely buzzing after one of the greatest moments in their club's history. A gritty, emotional and frankly epic Australia Cup playoff win over the Broadmeadow Magic. They now take their place in the round of 32 for the National Cup for the first time ever. That high has to be shelved for the moment, however, because they haven't played a league game in over a month and are still chasing consistency in a season that's been more stop-start than a freeway traffic jam. They've gone back-to-back in the league. They haven't gone back-to-back in the league yet in 2025, and that is the challenge that coach Chris Zoricic has laid down. Can they find consistency, focus and execution today against a side that's been quietly building? Enter Belmont United, just 3 losses all season, 6 draws and now 5 games unbeaten. They've been hard to beat and now they're starting to believe they can turn that resilience into results. Added to the mix, Drew Patterson, their new attacking import, who's added a spark and a swagger, already finding the net and causing headaches for defenders. Their comeback draw against Olympic last week was a real marker of growth and grit. I'm Chris McPherson, leading our coverage today alongside me, former Everton and England under-21 striker Brett Angel. And Brett, this one feels like a proper line-in-the-sand moment for these clubs. Yeah,
it certainly will be. Obviously, with the great result that Cooks have taken in midweek, Chris Zoricic will be open. It's not after the Lord Mayor's show. But certainly I think now Bell Swans are also getting to grips with the level. They've come up. It's always very, very difficult making that transition from the Northern League into the NPL. And I think now they've got their feet firmly under the table and probably, as we've seen, they're a very, very difficult side to beat. They're unbeaten in the last 5. And I think this will be a defining moment in their season, as if they're, to achieve what realistically they would like to achieve, which is playing NPL football again next year.
Yeah, you touch on that. Both squads have been evolving over the season, especially Belmont stepping up from the Northern League. And the last time they met, Cookshill were dominant, a 3-1 win at Blacksmiths. But Belmont have obviously progressed since then, and so they're fresh, they're looking for redemption, but Cookshill are riding that wave. It's going to be interesting to see which bit of momentum comes out on top today. One thing is for sure, 90 minutes of football is very important to both of these sides. They sit 4 points outside the top 5 at the moment. But again, a loss today still leaves them in touching distance of those teams below them that are the teams that are trying to stave off those, threats of relegation.
Exactly. I think if one team does pick up the 3 points, they're definitely looking upward and looking at potential playoff positions. And like you said, if you don't pick up a result today, then you're always potentially looking over your shoulder that you may be getting dragged into that potential playoff area.
Momentous round 15 action, all but set to get underway. Let's take a quick look at how the two teams do line up. We'll start with Belmont. In goals will be number 1, Kai Abrams. Number 2 is Ian Matthews. Number 4, Adam Blunden. 5 is Joe Cable. 6, Matt Hall. 8, Reece Newton. 9, Kane Wilson, who'll play at the head of attack. 10, their new US import in Drew Patterson. 14, Quinton Phillips Tapsell. 17, Alex Clayton. And 7, Cameron Lodge, as Cookshill look to work this out of defence. And for Cookshill, in goals, number 1, the consistent Daniel Eisenhower. 2 is Jai Bailey. 3, Alex Hilton. 5, Daniel Clements. 6, Mitchell Dobson. 9, Josh Benson, who scored their opening goal in that cup winner on Wednesday night. 10, Liam Wilson. 15, Matt Berrigan, who will join Benson up top of their attack. 18, Liam Spurway. 21, Kai Bradley. And 29, Zake Luck. They are, of course, coached by Chris Zoricic, and Mick Stafford, the man at the helm for Bell Swans, as Bell Swans look to range that one forward, but a little too heavy. Hilton now partnering up in defence with Dobson. Come down to Luck on the left. Cookshill will look to use both Luck and Bailey, their pace to get out and around at times here. Two very different statures on them. Bailey, the little pocket rocket on the right. They drive forward here through Hilton, but overcooks it and it goes across the sideline.
It certainly looks as though Bell Swans are happy for Cooks to knock the ball around the back. They're really not looking to press the ball in that higher end of the pitch at the moment. They're happy for them to do, but look quite structured, ready to pounce in that middle third, I think.
It's certainly going to be interesting to see. As I said, Cooks like to try and use that width of the pitch. As for Bell Swans, clear attacking intent, setting up with 3 at the front. how they manoeuvre that to there as the ball comes to ground. Fed forward. Nice little 1-2 involving Matt Hall. Trying to work it back. 2 in the box, but Hilton breaks that up. See both Wolfson and Patterson trying to get themselves set early for that ball to come in. Patterson getting deep for the long throw. Hilton again breaks it up. He's been busy in the first couple of minutes here. Shot taken from range, parried down and taken on the bounce. Cable was flying through, sniffing about.
I think he took the goalkeeper a little bit by surprise, probably everybody a little bit by surprise. It was a decent strike, but one that you'd have felt the goalkeeper should have saved.
Certainly nice one just to wake Daniel Eisenhower up early here, and ball now on the ground for Benson. Swings it wide, Liam Wilson deflects his ball is deflected. Straight away they come back down for Woolston. Tracking back, just trying to find an opportunity, and again, not the first pass we've seen that they've looked at both sides looking to go wide and not quite able to direct them. I'm talking about it before, Brett has watched this little run into the box here and a little overcooked in the end from Berrigan. Deflected off a Bell Swans player and we'll have a corner. The conditions are pretty good here at Fernley Dawes today, so it's interesting to see that a lot of the early passes are being overhit wide.
Yeah, just a little bit inaccurate from both sides. Be disappointed, and that's why there's really been no quality to the game as yet.
Short corner broken up by Ian Matthews in the end, so now Cooks with a throw in. And both teams just a little disjointed here. They're going to wait for Luck to come for the throw. No, he's going to come down and have it thrown to him. It's Luck again. They're going to swing it round through their back four using Dobson. Hilton, Bailey now. Bailey with a little bit of space to work. What's he decide to do here? The defence pushes up and he goes back to his centre backs. Dobson again. I'm happy just to keep tapping this round. Cookshill and Belmont very comfortable to let them. Now Bailey making a bit of a ranging run down, looking for an opportunity from Hilton. Bell Swans read it well. Matthews over there and just watches it go over the sideline.
At the moment, Cooks, as we said, they've played what I call round the horseshoe quite a lot. Never really gone forward, and then they sort of get into the fullback position and then force it long over the top, and that's the ball that's been very inaccurate for them up to now.
A little bit of physical contact going both ways. The referee playing advantage, and we'll come back for the contact on Matt Hall.
There's been a couple of times where certainly Bell Swans have tried to get their midfield players beyond their forwards, so that's potentially causing a little bit of a problem for Cookshill's midfield players. They've not really completely tracked. There was a situation just there where it looked for half a second as though they were going to get clear, and then obviously there's a foul being given. So it's something that maybe they'll continue to do, because a couple of times they've had a little bit of a bit of success in doing that from the midfield of Bell Swans.
What can they conjure here? Woolston over the dead ball. Now he knows his way to net. He was the Northern League leading scorer last season. A big part of the reason the Bell Swans are in the NPL now. He takes a strike directly. Eisenhower gets two hands to him. He can't hang on to it. And just as that's taken, the rain's starting to come down here, and it's sort of a thick mist. It's going to make it very interesting for handling for the keepers.
Yeah, it was a good, decent strike there from Woolston, and he made Eisenhower certainly move, and we've got a bit more of a heavier shower now rather than that light misty rain.
Eisenhower having some troubles here with his own teammate as much as up and over and easy as you like. The man from the mid-north coast, Joe Cable, nods the header home, and that was just Cookshill caught napping there at the corner.
Great delivery, great delivery. Cable's come and attack the ball. I would have said that they've worked on that numerous times during the season, and that's what you get when you get quality ball in and people prepared to go and attack the ball as Cable was. Cable's got across his marker and diverted it into the back of the net with the goalkeeper no chance.
Did very well, as you said, to get up to that and hold his height, but interestingly no Cookshill players really getting up or making any form of a contest for him. They're just allowed to take it uncontested, which a good finisher will do that.
Exactly. He's attacked it, and nobody from the Cookshill defence has actually gone and attacked the ball at all.
Well, it is early doors here, but it is 1-0. Belmont United grabbing the early advantage at Fernley Doors Field. As we said there, 5 games undefeated. They won their last start, which is their first win since round 1 when they hit the competition with a bang. And that 5-2 victory over the Adamstown Rosebuds.
Well, I will say, Chris, to me, Bell Swans look very organised out of possession, and they're going to ask some questions to Cookshill to break them down. As I said, they've got a bit of a game plan. They look as though they've set themselves up. They're not going to press high, and then they're going to pick that ball up and then try and transition, I think, off of Cookshill from there.
Cookshill now trying to go on the attack, and Luck wide. Pops the ball inside. Wilson returning to Luck. Luck's going to try and manoeuvre around, and Belmont defensive unit just calm, compact, composed. Happy to let them go back and around, as we talked about before. And it's interesting when you watch the two teams, because to that point, that horseshoe description you use is perfect for them. But then when you see Belmont, they're much more direct in terms of the intent, trying to use that overlapping midfield, as you said. It's two very contrasting, we'll get that eventually, styles.
Yes, it is, and I think they're looking to play on what we call transition. They'll break them down and then go quite quickly front to back. And their midfield run, and they've got midfield runners. Their midfielders are not, are prepared to actually go and support very, very quickly.
We've got the upper hand here, but there's so much time for twisting the tail. We'll watch and see. Cookshill again. It's interesting to see how they handle the continuation of that emotion from Wednesday night. It would have been a big high to come back to regular season football from, and undoubtedly that'll be something that'll be firmly in the minds of Chris Zoricic and his coaching staff if they do find their way to the sheds behind, to talk about how do we take ourselves away from that. But in the meantime, we've got a job to do for the next 30 or so. Luck with a ranging ball, just a little bit of miscommunication or lack of communication. Belmont now driving forward here. Gaps close up, and now here's the man that scored that goal. Cable gets a little bump, but isn't enough to completely take him off his feet. Also on his, just turns over the player, and the referee says play on. I think it was a solid decision from our referee, who was right on the spot. Yeah,
good decision. I don't think there was enough contact there realistically to warrant a penalty.
Well, Wilson moving in, lays it out for Berrigan, puts it out in front of Benson. Got the opener in the Australia Cup the other night. Threads this one in the box. That was much more promising from Cookshill. Kai Bradley was racing through. He's just a step short of that well-placed pass.
Yeah, that's the first time they've really got in behind Bell Swans, and a great ball in. Unfortunately, just the one player trying to attack the ball, which is a little bit disappointing. And this is possibly going to be the difference with Bell Swans. They seem as though they get a lot more players forward into the box to be more of a threat.
Scrappy exchanges in midfield here. Both teams compacting into the middle third. Now Benson finds Bailey on the right with lots of space to work. Lodge is going to have to try and shut it down. He does get there in the end, and they poke it forward. Not quite controlled the way he would have liked from Hilton, but he finds Wilson, who's switched from the left over to the right for the time being. Berrigan now, can he get a cross in on a target? Just broken up by Blunden. Bailey on the volley, headed away, nice and calm from Bell Swans. Shot from range over the crossbar, but it's taken a deflection on the way through, so we'll have a corner.
Yeah, a little bit more dangerous now. Berrigan's got himself into a couple of decent positions without really finding an end product. So now, certainly from a possession perspective, Cookshill in this last couple of minutes have made better use of their, 90%, I would think, possession that they've had up to now during the game.
Well, let's see what sort of set piece they can conjure here. Wilson over the ball on the corner. Inside against the short corner this time. Cross towards the back post. Racing in was Berrigan, using all of his frame. Benson now trying to use body position in the box. Drops it back. Clements gets a shot away. Not quite cleanly taken, but he does recover in time, Abrahams, before the advancing Cookshill players can get on the ball. And they go straight on the counter-attack, going down the other end here through Wilson. He crosses it into the box. Overdoes it, though, you'd have to think. They've managed to clean up. Both players holding each other, so the referee's going to let him go on with that. Cable now. He's got Woolston wide. Can he find the cross for Patterson? Puts it along the ground. First miss, second deflected. It was an off-balance strike by Patterson, but it was well broken up by Cookshill. And now we're going to go the other end. Berrigan trying to get away with it. This is the definition of end-to-end football, Brett.
Yeah, and as you see, that there's one way that they immediately, great kick out from the goalkeeper, got Woolston away, and then suddenly they turned defence into attack very, very quickly.
You have to feel that Cookshill defence was reasonable, but probably a little bit of good fortune as well as now. They range for a nice little chip ball looking for Woolston. That's well placed and well weighted. His control a little heavier than he liked, and that pass heavier again, and they will get away with one there, Cookshill, after a wonderful lead-up ball from Joe Cable. He's looking like he's got the magic touch at the moment.
Well, certainly got the confidence, and another great ball in and a great run from Woolston. Again, attacking that box with his momentum, but unfortunately at the moment, the thing he would be disappointed with is his end product across. Twice has not really hit the mark.
Nice little tap on here. Can Patterson get into prime position? He does get the ball just inside the byline. He's got work to do with two defenders and will earn a corner.
Yeah, they look not a bad little partnership, Patterson and Woolston. They've linked up quite nicely a couple of times now, and obviously Patterson's got a little bit more physical presence. And here we are again, and you know, as I said, the delivery in last time was perfect. Let's see if that's a consistency in the Bell Swans armoury.
Let's see what Clayton can do. We know the touch that he's got. Drifts this in dangerously again. They're up for it. Again, no Cookshill players really getting up. Their good fortune was that no one from Bell Swans got there either. Now they're working around, and here's Cable again, as you said, full of confidence, Brett. Gets a little deflection. It falls favourably for Cookshill. Good pressure there coming forward, Matt Hall, but couldn't direct it where he needed to find Joe Cable.
Yeah, again, as I said, Cable's looked a little bit of a threat. Not only has he scored, he's now, when he's picked the ball up, he's been very aware of his teammates. He's found some good pockets of space himself, but also he's assisting very well for the front two to get on the end of stuff. And as I said, as an attacking force, they've started quite well. They look they could look a half-decent threat.
Speaking of threats, Benson now coming forward. Work to do. They do well to cut him out, but it falls favourably for Berrigan. Now crossed in from Bradley. Well intercepted. Alex Clayton. They continue to work it now. Clements. Feed it on. Lark. Wilson's covered plenty of territory today. He's been on the left, the right, and then back to the left again. He just can't quite find this probing ball into the box they're looking for here. Spurway. Clements. They switch wide to Bailey again. He's got space, but decides to use the pass early. Now they cross in, and out to it very quickly is Kai Abrahams.
And again, they went round the horseshoe. It's the final ball in. Doesn't look that, that dangerous. And I think if they could be better at that, they've looked a little bit more threatening, but still, for me at the moment, haven't really hit that final quality ball in that's given the opportunity for a forward or a midfield player to get on the end of.
Surprisingly too, as soon as the opportunity arose, it was looking for Patterson this time as Abrahams comes out of his box and chests it down. That was a bold choice. Worked out okay though. Adam Blunden. Now Lodge. Out-muscled by the much smaller man, and a physical challenge goes against Lodge. And Cookshill will have a free just in front of their own bench.
They're certainly looking, Cookshill, now a little bit more threatening in that final third. They've continued the momentum of their, having quite a lot of possession.
Certainly have. Now Benson just outside the box, looking to work with his back into traffic. He's dispossessed. And again, straight away, Bell Swans going on the attack. That was broken up well. I think as much good fortune as it was intent.
Yeah, I certainly think that on that big quick transition, the front two look a little bit of a threat because they've got enough pace and power to trouble, and guile, to trouble the back four of.
You see them trying to combine again. Just watching these opening exchanges, you wouldn't know that these two have only been playing together for 2 weeks. Patterson, that new signing that's come into this Bell Swan side, and they seem to have a bit of an innate understanding and way of working together already, which is ominous if you're some of the other sides in the competition as it plays out.
I think what Patterson's given them is a better balance. Now they've got a definite two strikers and that are obviously working off, and Woolston, can score goals, and now he's got a partner that can share a little bit more of the load.
Play forward now, and it'll give them some options to some of those others that have filled in, and we've seen that have played up front earlier in the season. The likes of Woodbine and Co will be able to come in off the bench for impact in those shorter stints, which will, again, just adds another dimension to them, which is nice to have if you mix Stafford.
Yeah, as I say, certainly Cookshill have had by far more of the possession. They've looked quite promising without really having that end product. But the difference in the game, realistically, is a set play, great delivery, and someone attacking the ball.
Certainly is. It was a phenomenal header. He soared above the pack like a leaping salmon, did Joe Cable, to get that knotted home. Can Cookshill get an answer back? And cross this into the box. Benson's looming dangerously, but Alex Clayton, as he was the man to rely on to deliver the corner, he was the man to rely on there to take possession. And Joe Cable, I was going to say, will not only do well to keep that ball in and not give away a throw in, what some would probably call a reasonably inconsequential position, but he also earns a foul. And
it was a great piece of defending there as well, and he's done that a number of times and had to a degree. What I'd probably say with Cooks is they don't have an abundance of players going into the box from when the crossing position. It's just the odd one or two, and probably that might be something that there's a few more options, should we say, rather than just the one.
Yeah, it seems that Benson the out and out, and then Berrigan will push up at times, but trying to find some other opportunities and options going forward for them.
I think it's more the midfield players, I suppose. They haven't really flooded the box when the ball's in from wide positions.
You can see Patterson now trying to cross this in. Well, deflected and broken up, and it's seen across over the line for a throw for Cookshill. The question I've got for you on that, though, Brett, is we've obviously seen Bell Swans push hard on a counter whenever the opportunity comes. So those midfielders, if they are going to commit to that, they've got to be prepared to work back really hard as well, don't they?
They have, but it's the chicken and egg, isn't it? At the end of the day, when they've got into good crossing positions, when there are so few targets, it's just you've got to be perfect with the delivery and the.
This falls dangerously, deflected off the Cookshill player, and it will be a throw in for Bell Swans deep in the attack.
I think they were looking for a foul there, thinking that there was some contact prior to him kicking it out of play. So
the referee again in really good position for it. Clayton with the long throw, probably not as long as he might have liked, and they do well here. They just keep it in, and then it deflected off one of the Cookshill players in the end, and Cookshill quite frustrated there, but again, I think the referees have got this one exactly right.
Yeah, they look a little bit vulnerable, don't they, from set plays and balls into the box. Obviously, Patterson's a big lad and what have you, but they don't look that comfortable there. Obviously, we've got an opportunity to throw the ball in from Clayton as well.
Clayton, beautifully hit again from Clayton. Almost finished by Woolston, but dug out off the line, and they go on the attack now. Berrigan winding up and trying to accelerate to the outside. And then you have to feel that was optimistic at best, that threaded ball, just hoping that he could somehow find a way through to Josh Benson.
But again, the same thing. Clayton, good delivery. Woolston with a header and a kick off the line. But yeah, he looks as though he's probably done his dash, actually. He's gone down. Maybe the exertion of the middle of the week has caught up with him a little bit, but Berrigan looks as though he's not in the greatest space at the moment.
No, when the referee first came over, he sort of grabbed the inner leg there, and it looks like it's a bit more than just a fatigue from the gut-busting run that you might call it, but hopefully it's nothing too major, and it's just he's gassed himself a little, but unusual to see a player this early in the game. As you say, stay down after one of those if it's not something more significant. So we'll watch and wait.
But again, definitely something every set play appears when they get the ball in. Clayton's got a good delivery with his foot, but he's also got a long delivery from the sidelines as well. And with Patterson now there, you've got a little bit more of a target to allow Woolston that opportunity.
obviously.
I think the 19's come on. Yeah, I think
have
definitely.
Had a change, yeah. So that is the end of Matt Berrigan's afternoon. So hoping it's nothing too serious that's going to impact him for the rest of the season. But to your point, Xavier Williams is into the fray early here. And that's unfortunate for Cookshill.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know whether that may have been something to do with the exertions of midweek and then having to back up.
Wait and see what comes of that for Cookshill throughout the season. We know Berrigan is such a key piece up front for them alongside Benson, the 1-2 punch. Bailey with some nice work in tight quarters there. Now they feed it in, and Williams was almost on it in the box early doors for him. Now they feed it forward. Patterson's going to have to be quick if he's going to get there before Dobson. Dobson will have plenty of time, but tries to be a little too cute and probably a little fortunate in the end that it went the way it did across the sideline.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought Chris Sorosic would have been comfortable with your centre-back trying to backheel it against the defender, but he got away with it, and they ended up with a throw.
And they thread it forward. Williams clattering into on the backs for Bell Swans, and gone from what was moderately heavy rain only a few minutes ago to bathed in sunshine, and it seems pointless to have those lights on. But anyway, the joys of our wonderful weather at the moment. Now they come back. Hilton will go all the way back to Eisenhower. Again, they just try and work this around their back four. Bell Swans maintaining their discipline and just keeping their shape. Mix it up a little and they play it forward to Clements, but I don't know what's going on here. The midfielder's getting involved now. They loft it forward looking for Benson, and Bell Swans just tracking back there. Phillips Tapsell was very watchful.
It's an interesting thing because I haven't really seen the central midfield players get on the ball to link play. It generally goes wide to fullbacks and long to forward from the fullbacks rather than into midfield. And that might just be something, if they start to do that, Bell Swans midfield have to make some decisions.
Clayton's beaten too, and he gets some space, threads it through, nicely weighted for Woodburn. He's looking for Patterson in the back post, but Bailey's there, does well, a diving header. I tell you what, I think Liam Spurway might have sold that a little bit and got away with one there, and they play things on here, Cookshill.
But again, great link-up play. Clayton down the right-hand side, plays it into Woolston. Woolston's got in and behind the back four of Cookshill. Decent ball in and good piece of defending as well.
An attempted attacking play there from Luck forward to Williams. Williams already just looks... He's got a little bit more of a spring. I think he might be a little bit younger than, you know, more mobile than the likes of Berrigan and Benson. We know they're good finishers up front, but maybe that 1-2 of having the power strike of Benson along with a bit of movement from Williams might unlock things for Cookshill here.
Yeah, he certainly came on full of energy and trying to give that energy to the group.
Well, there's another opportunity to go forward, and it's broken up partially by Blunden. Not completely dealt with. It sits back now. Clements. Defence straight onto him. Again, it falls fortuitously. But Wilson can't quite control it. They thread a ball through looking for Benson. Good urgency, and the flag comes up. I'll say he's offside.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept at the moment, trying to break down that solid Bell Swans defence. And at the moment, they've tried to go wide and in. That one was slightly more central and trying to play it through, and they might have a little bit more variety with their approach play that could cause a little bit more problems at the moment than potentially just going wide and trying to get it back in is having, because I think they're dealing with it in the main, Bell Swans.
Certainly appear to be. Reece Newton's going to have to be careful there, and the advantage is played. This time they look for the pace of Williams, but a little overhit, and I did notice the backup keeper for Bell Swans was heading down towards the goals, and I can see why now. He's had to take the hat down for Kai Abrahams because the sun is absolutely just peppering him straight in the eyes down there. It's not going to be an easy job in the first half, I don't think. One of these rare fields that runs east to west here at Fernley Dawes.
No, he definitely needs the hat. But earlier it was to stop the rain, but now it's definitely to keep out the sun.
As he comes racing out of the box, and a flying scissor kick drives it over the sideline.
Certainly not afraid to do that. He's done that a couple of times now, and to be fair, he's made contact every time.
That's the thing, isn't it? It looks wonderful, and it's enthralling when a keeper comes out of his box, because you know how quickly it could go wrong. But if you keep getting them right, I'm sure Mick Stafford will back him all day to keep doing it. As Bailey now gets to the outside, decides to cut in, feeds it looking for Williams, but again the pass broken up, and they turn it on now. Patterson will range forward. Wilson just overcooked his run a little, and they'll have a second effort forward though, and now they set it out in front of Cable. A nicely weighted ball, looking for a teammate in the box, skims it across everyone. The second effort back to Patterson, deflected and over the bar.
Again, great approach play. They've gone in, round, through the back four of Cookshill. Great ball across again from Cable. I thought that the end shot first time might have been the answer to have a go. Decided to bring it back, and then a good piece of defending there to chuck themselves in the way to deflect it over for a corner.
You see the difference with those waves of players pushing forward, though, to create extra options in the box and be there for those deflected pieces, as Clayton wafts this into the box, brought to ground by Bell Swans, but couldn't be controlled. And this time it was Lodge looking around. Benson all of a sudden gets free. He's got Williams with him. Can he time the pass? Williams had to pull a step for it, and it means that the defence in Ian Matthews gets to him relatively easily.
Yeah, there was a little bit of hesitation there from the Bell Swans defence, and they got basically nearly collided into each other. That led to Benson picking up the ball, and I felt that he should have played the ball into space to Williams rather than actually, it was a bit held up, which allowed the defender to come away and kick it away for a throw-in.
They just forced that stutter step from Williams, as you say. I think if he had got it in front of him, he would have had a chance to at least shoot. It would have been nice to get a look at the youngster and his finishing. We'll wait and see if that comes later. For now, they work it around through Clements. Back on the ball now, Luck. Bit of space in front. He's going to try and overlap forward again. Wilson pulls it back. He's got Luck with him, and that's where he goes. Wilson now pushing himself towards the 18-yard box. In the meantime, Spurway drifting across field. Plays it out to Bradley. Now Bailey with plenty of space to move. Well, feints the cross into the box, pulls it back. Now Bradley drifts it towards the back post. I think Abrams might have lost that in the end, but the chest does well. Comes into the box and now cleared just to the edge of the 18-yard box. Another shot, another deflection. Now hacked away and over the sideline, and there was no panic there from the Bell Swans defenders. But Kai Abrahams might have got lucky there. I think he lost sight of that shot coming in. Yeah,
it's probably one of them where, in hindsight, he might have allowed his defenders to defend, because it looked as though he did have someone, but he came charging forward, and then it ended up hitting his chest, I think.
As I say, it doesn't matter how it pans out. The ends justify the means. So we'll see if that continues on. Bailey now ranging down that side. Bell Swans happy to give them space on the flank. They feed it in now. Clements. Spurway defending tightly in the central passages. Now a shot. Wasn't a lot on that. That wasn't really going to trouble anyone from Wilson. Spurway again for Williams. Gets up to it. Benson falls into the box and he beats the diving keeper. A beautiful finish there from Benson. Calm, composed, and beats it across the face of the keeper to make it 1-1.
It's interesting, that one. They sort of didn't go over. They went over the top. Just a little flick on, and Benson was in. And a nice tidy finish with his left foot, to the keeper's left. And as I said, it was more the ball fell in the box rather than they actually linked play. But at the end of the day, how it gets there is immaterial. But a nice finish there from Benson to make it 1-1.
Yeah, we saw him score in the cup on Wednesday night, and again, just like that perfect placement, he didn't have to overhit it, just hit it past the keeper, beating Kai Abrahams. And that brings us back to level pegging here as we progress through into the back end of the first half in round 15 NPL Northern New South Wales action. This one's going to trickle away for a throw. Luck will take it. Interesting to see now how that affects the momentum and the enthusiasm from Cookshill. And they straight away ranging forward through Bradley. He looks to get to the outside. Matthews drags him down, does he? The referee's going to play on. Doesn't even see that he's signalling advantage, and then headed away by Phillips Tapsell.
Yeah, it was an interesting one there. They all sort of fell over each other. There was a little bit of pushing and shoving and a lack of momentum, and nobody really knew what was happening. But the cross came in, and again, Bell Swans dealt with it. As I said, that's probably where they've had plenty of opportunity, but no real end product because they've not seen a lot of opportunity, really. It's put in, I think, more just into the box rather than with any meaning, looking for players.
Spurway just prods this one in. It nearly beats half of each side as it just found its way towards the back post. And now we've got Lodge trying to use a little bit of physicality to disrupt the attack. Dobson working it around here. Luck pushes across. Dobson goes wide to Bailey. Down the line now. Feed it in, looking for Benson. A little tap on. Looking for the foot race. And I'm going to say corner again for Cookshill. London got there first and just touched it over the line.
Since the goal, they've had a little bit more forward momentum, and it's been a little bit more difficult now for Bell Swans to... They've kept the ball better and looked a little bit more threatening with it as well, Cookshill. So I think this passage of play, the last 10 minutes, they've had the better of it.
Crossed in better this time. Abrahams gets two hands, so he got caught up with one of his teammates on the way through, but retrieves it safely and drives it long, looking for Woolston sweeping around the back, and all of a sudden it looked like he might have been under pressure there, Daniel Eisenhower, but did well just to watchfully see it as he retreated into the box.
Yeah, that's certainly a ploy that they've used. Every time Abrahams has picked the ball up, he's sort of kicked it forward very, very quickly for Woolston, whoever's up there, to chase it down.
You can see on those corners twice now where Woolston set himself up at halfway that they'll have two of the defenders right on either side of him just because they know what that threat is. If he's the lone wolf down there, it doesn't matter because I think it needs half a step of a break. He's got pace and guile, as you said before. Now they work it around, and again they settle back into this pattern here. Cookshill.
Like I said, there's very little midfield influence from their approach play. It generally goes round and goes high, and the centre midfield players don't really get involved in the approach play.
Luck now feeding it forward for Williams. Collision. Falls in the box, almost collected on the drive from Wilson. The defence breaks it up. Yeah, Clements and Spurway aren't having a lot of opportunity to get involved. The only times we really see them when they're in possession is if they're pulling back to the defensive line versus going forward, which is probably creating that challenge you're talking about at the other end. Because if they're pulling back, they're going to be miles from creating options.
But what they're not doing realistically is affecting the central midfield of Bell Swans in the approach play, because at the moment they know realistically what's going to happen because that's what they want. So that ball there, if he turns and actually faces forward, changes the complexion of the... But at the moment, for me, the Bell Swans are quite comfortable with them keep messing around the back because it's not a threat. They're not really threatening the goal at this moment in time.
It certainly looks like it's a clear tactic from Bell Swans just to sit and let them go back and forward and around, and if they want to try and go around and over, well, it's a chance they'll take, as we see a little bit of a midfield touch there, but again, straight away it ends up back in the back line, and Luck now. We're going to see it now. Spurway decides to play one forward. That's a little better. Benson. Brundley's over that side, overloading, but couldn't connect. Now Cable threads it forward. I think Patterson's going to need to be really quick to get to that, even at his long stride, and take it forward. Hilton to Bailey again.
But the match has realistically had this pattern of play all the way through, where Cookshill have really shown their possession-based football being, but no real at the moment great threat from an end product.
That's a better ball over the top, looking for Wilson. Matthews tracking back. Wilson pulls it up inside the byline, but can't hold it enough, and it will be a goal kick. But
that was slightly different, and that's what then puts it makes a few more decisions to be based around for Bell Swans, because they haven't gone up and round. They've now come back into the middle and are trying a diagonal ball from a more central position rather than from a wide position.
just forcing that decision, isn't it, from the defenders? Because decision leads to indecision, which leads to mistakes. And as we see, Woolston here trying to muscle around. Hilton didn't work out for him. Lodge gets it. Picked off by Clements. Now Bailey. Seen away for a throw in.
But I think both coaches at the moment will be happy-ish with the performance level of the game.
Spin and pass into a spin and defend. Luck now working to the outside with options. Decides to go back in. Spurway, Clements. One of the first times we've seen the two central mids connect. Now we work it around again. Back to plan A. Bailey. Williams presents out wide, and Bailey looks. I think he's going to track back. He is. We're going to go back around again. Hilton over to Dobson.
I think in those situations, and probably you do need a bit of midfield movement to break up that. And unfortunately, at the moment, there isn't a lot of midfield movement from any to go beyond, just to break it. It's either the front players or no one really.
Williams trying to slice through on his own. He beats two, takes a shot. Abraham's up to it at the left post. Again, just something a little different. Just used his footwork and his pace to explode through the midfield.
He certainly did there.
Just working it out again, and we go back to Bailey. He's going to thread it forward early for Williams. Look to see if he can get a step on Blunden. Blunden calmly parries it across the sideline.
Yeah, Williams, as I said, since he's come on, he's injected a little bit of pace into the attack, and a little bit of rawness. You know, he'll chase down balls that potentially, you know, they're not great balls. That he makes them look good, and eventually he gets something for his team because he's chased it down.
See what it leads to here. Benson out wide, drops it back into the midfield. There's Spurway. He'll take a shot from range. Gets a deflection. It had Abraham second guessing, but he got across to it just to cover anyway. It would have been off target.
Yeah, he didn't really have any options, did he? And then eventually decided, oh, well, I've got no options, and so I'll take a punt.
Okay, right now, Woolston heads it out, looking for Cable and his pace, and does well. Luck tries to trap him in the corner. He gets around him with a nice touch, pulls it back. He's going to try and work again. Luck gets some help, and Wilson does well to help close it down. Not completely dealt with. Can they get a long range strike? They can, but over the crossbar, well off target. Reece Newton, right idea, wrong execution.
Yeah, again, there was the pressure that Luck put on. He won it, he lost it, and then probably a poor decision of where to play. Played back inside rather than just go down the line, and gave the Bell Swans a chance there from the edge of the box, but unfortunately it was high, wide and handsome.
Eisenhower takes his time with this one, drives it just over halfway where it's headed forward by Alex Clayton. Clearance is not all that effective at the moment from Cookshill. I'm sure it's an area Chris Zoricic will be addressing at half-time. You can't be turning it over in your defensive third so regularly. They loft it forward. Cookshill players more interested in putting their hand up, calling for offside, rather than actually worrying about keeping the player onside, but the assistant referee does give it. It would have been tight on Hilton.
Yeah, it was an interesting one there. You know, obviously I couldn't really quite understand why they were appealing. It wasn't as though he was going through on goal or stuff like that, but maybe the centre-backs didn't want to chase back or...
Wilson now. Williams looking to create an option. London back past that with a little back heel, and I'm not sure again that it's in any coaching manuals to defend like that, but it worked out okay in the end.
Yeah, again, they lost their way a little bit. Didn't quite know. They had one or two options and didn't really give the player any real chance of actually making anything of the ball in, and consequently they've managed to get it fortuitously back to the goalkeeper.
What can they do now? Now they're turning to the working it around the back four. Phillips Tapsell threads the ball down looking for Cable, but it's picked off. Well, it falls friendly for Bell Swans. Now Matthews These little chip balls are working out nicely for them. Patterson on the ball. Trying to work against the defence, and done well there is Hilton. And find Benson now. He decides to drop it back into midfield. Wilson screaming for the ball on the left, and that's where they go. Luck looking to flow round and overlap here. Benson and Williams central for them. The numbers heading towards the box for a change, and then they pull it up and bring it back. Wilson's going to try and find Benson at the back post, but Abrahams manages to take it cleanly despite the sun in his eyes.
They just lost momentum of the move, really. It sort of slowed down and never really got going again. And again, a ball just played in. It's just the one striker they're aiming at because that's the only one in there. And unfortunately, it's overhit and gone straight through to the goalkeeper.
I really feel Cookshill, all this possession and these attacking raids in the back half of this first half, they'd love to have something else to show for it at the break. You have to think that, especially with that midweek game, and yes, it was only a 90-minute, but it was a midweek game nonetheless. These legs are probably going to get a little heavy in the second half here from the Cooks. Abrahams loses a bit of footing there.
Yeah, I think in this midpoint of this first half, they've had a little bit more of the fluency of the game, whereas I think the first 10-15 minutes was a little bit more Bell Swans. I think they've had a little bit more control of the game in this mid-period of the first half.
Ball chipped on, flag down. Patterson into the box. Finishes. What a beautiful finish in a tight hole. Cookshill arms are raised, debating the decision, but the referee's pointed for a goal, and Bell Swans in the shadows of half-time have got back a goal thanks to some brilliant finishing by Drew Patterson, his second goal in Bell Swans colours.
And again, great movement, great pass. He's beaten the offside trap according to the linesman. Obviously, the back four of Cookshill aren't enamoured with that, but a great finish as well. And I think that's the difference at the moment. The timing of the movement from the front two of Bell Swans has been very where they're exploiting the space in behind and going at the right time, whereas the front two to the moment of Cookshill have never really got themselves into those positions. And it may be that, again, because of the way that Cookshill have played, that midfield support hasn't really been there to supply that line. It's mainly come for Cookshill from wide.
Yeah, certainly looking back on that one, it looked like Jai Bailey out on the far side was the man that kept Patterson on side. It could be a little bit frustrating because it was the defenders on this side that felt he was already in behind them when the pass went, which he was, but Bailey was sitting deep on the right. So the goal stands and Bell Swans have the lead as we approach half-time here at Fernley Doors.
But again, it was a good piece of movement from the big lad, and also a nice composed finish. He sort of let the goalkeeper go down and then tucked it over under his legs, or over his legs.
Well, I didn't have a huge window to work with between keeper and the right post, and that's, I guess, the class they've brought in terms of bringing in an import. It's what you want to see. Good finishing if you're bringing in an import forward. And it's certainly been a threat, and when he's had opportunity, had some wonderful touches, including that finish, as Bell Swans do well to keep that in play and progress it down the field, and here he is again. I wonder if he'll try to cut to the outside with pace, drifts back in. Defenders all tracking back, but he keeps possession. He'll try and find an option for Woolston, doesn't have it. Matthews advances, and Bell Swans would love to put another nail in this first half if they could before the break. Matthews now. Lodge gets a little nudge. Patterson dragged down just outside the box. You would have had some very angry Cookshill fans if that was a yard closer to goal.
Again, he's shown his confidence from the goals that he scored. He's been a good aerial threat. He's been a good unit to bounce the ball off. And obviously the goal has been the icing on the cake. So what you're seeing now is that abundance of confidence that goals also bring you.
I'll be intrigued to see whether it is Woolston or Clayton. Obviously Clayton, if they're looking to attack that back post, might have been an option, but it will be Woolston over the dead ball just outside the 18-yard box. He drives it along the turf and skims up nicely, and a friendly bounce for Eisenhower.
Yeah, decent strike, but again, Eisenhower had it sort of covered. There were no real bodies running across him to get in the way, and collected very safely, and no end product.
Well, that is the half-time break, and Bell Swans head to the break with the advantage. And you do have to give some credit to the visitors, despite being clearly overwhelmed in possession numbers. Their composure and clinical structure in defence, plus some good finishing at the other end, means they are going to the break, Brett. Is this the best you think that we've seen of these sides this season? Obviously, Cookshill coming off a bit of a dusty midweek game, but Bell Swans looking like they're building into something nicely.
Yeah, there's a reason potentially that they haven't lost for 5 games.
That's the feeling. Progress. Momentum. Getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good. That's the feeling. Progress. Momentum. Getting somewhere. That's what it feels like when you bank with Newcastle Permanent. With local experts and award-winning customer service. We're here for you, and we're here for good.
Welcome back to Fernley Dawes Athletic Park. It is round 15. Northern New South Wales NPL men's action. Cookshill United up against Bell Swans, and at the break it is Bell Swans leading 2-1. It was Joe Cable, the opener from a corner with a header. The second goal came to Cookshill through Josh Benson, a wonderful finish across the face of the goalkeeper, before Drew Patterson managed to get the lead back in the shadows of half-time for Bell Swans, scoring his second goal in 3 appearances for the club since joining them from the US. And Chris McPherson and Brett Angel bring you all of the action. And Brett, this one, it's been an interesting sort of development. Cookshill have had most of the ball. Bell Swans have done the best with their attacking opportunities. But, and again, we talked about it at half-time. It's the old adage. It's, you know, it's overly used cliche. But the next goal, you feel, is just so crucial here, especially with Cookshill having played on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I definitely think it is. I think if Bell Swans get it, it could be a very difficult second half to stick into with tired legs. Undoubtedly, the Cookshill team are going to experience because of what they did during the week. As I said, for me, the goal just before half-time was, we could probably say, slightly more against the run of play. I thought Bell Swans started well, deservedly got a great start with the set piece and 1-0. Cookshill got back into the game, deservedly equalised, and then looked as though they were the most threatening team without really creating an abundance of chances. But then, as I say, Patterson's come to the fore, finished off nicely, and got themselves in a great position for 3 more points.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting to see. Could they go back-to-back wins, Bell Swans, or will it be Cookshill who are back in the winner's circle? Another 45 minutes and we will know the outcome. Interesting to see, too, Cookshill, how they maintain the weariness after an enthralling victory on Wednesday night that saw them through to the national stages of the Australia Cup, joining Western as first-time appearances from Northern New South Wales this season. And Cookshill going forward, headed back by Lodge. If you're only just joining us too, in the first half there was a forced change for Cookshill. Early exchanges with Matt Berrigan forced from the field with what appeared to be a leg injury. He's pulled up after an effort run with the ball towards goal and was replaced by Xavier Williams. Hoping that nothing too serious. He's a key part of this Cookshill United campaign this season, Berrigan. Now they work it around. Bailey on the left. So change at half-time too for Cookshill. Just trying to identify who's come off, but the player who's come on in jersey 17 is Daniel Yaxley. He's now on the right of defence. Jai Bailey on the left. So thinking it might be Zake Luck that's come from the field.
Yeah, I don't think that's changed their shape in any form other than different personnel.
Now all of a sudden Patterson looking forward, going for a second, takes a big strike, puts it across the face. Drew Patterson.
Again, they got caught down the right-hand side. Patterson's shown some pace there, and I think he's taken them a little bit by surprise. He's got away from his marker. Decent right-footed shot across Eisenhower, but unfortunately it also went the wrong side of the post as well. But nonetheless, a good opportunity again for Bell Swans, and certainly Patterson is showing his worth today.
I thought he might have tried to double up his effort in that bottom right corner again. It would have been almost a mirror finish of the opposite end just before half-time, and almost equidistant in time from the break as well.
Yeah, he went across the goalkeeper, but unfortunately he also went across the far post as well.
Williams, a nice header, sitting back for Bradley. Tries to find it in for Benson, but again, Bell Swans clearly outnumbering Cookshill in the box. A few players pushing forward there into the box now, but as they have earlier, they decide to push backwards rather than continue to turn the screws in attack. Now they drive it out wide, a nice pass on the ground. It was initially, I feel, intended for Bailey, but it was picked up in the end by Wilson. Now they're working it forward, and Clayton plays it into the legs of a Cookshill defender and will earn the throw for his side.
Again, their approach play, very, should we say, short, sweet, looks promising, but never ever realistically a threatening end product to it. And I'm sure that Chris, they'll keep plugging away, but I'd like to sort of see him change it up a little bit, play through the central of midfield and see how that affects Bell Swans rather than keep doing what they're doing. They're getting success to get to that point or get better in that final third in wide positions, because at the moment it keeps breaking down or it's just chucked into the box and goes no further.
Certainly interesting. We just saw Spurway pushing forward for the first real time. Here's Williams. Good defensive effort and managed to do well and get it into the legs of Williams as well. So it'll be a goal kick, not a corner.
What you see there in the game, we talk about structure, but definitely from a defensive point of view, it's very difficult to break through that Bell Swans, because it's generally a back six. And once that ball goes into wide positions, all six are virtually inside the box, defending as well as the goalkeeper. So to find a little bit of space in there is increasingly difficult, and something that at the moment Cookshill haven't managed to find.
The sniper gets hold of Wilson there. No one near him, and he just lost his footing. Bailey will take the throw, looking for options forward. Don't present, so he goes laterally to Spurway. Clemens is presenting in the midfield, but they go back again. Dobson arranging pass wide. Hilton now. Yaxley tracking down the line here. Again, the midfield for Bell Swans just tracking back. They've got plenty of numbers there. No space presents.
I think they've got to just move the ball quicker. The problem being is they're not moving the ball quick enough to actually affect the Bell Swans backline.
Let's see now, there's 7 players in or around the 18-yard box, plus the player pressing defender. As Williams got a free header somehow amongst that cluster of gold jerseys.
Well, that's the first time it's actually bypassed, and Williams has got himself in. But Williams is the actual only option, realistically, from a crossing position in that attack. But as it was, Williams possibly could have done a little bit better with it. It came onto him a bit quick. I think he felt that the centre-back was going to head it clear, but missed it, and it landed on his head, but he couldn't direct it anywhere near the goal.
As the illustrious Damien Zane described it during our Australia Cup fixture on Wednesday night, it was more ball meets head than head meets ball. You see bodies coming together, the referee's going to pull it up and go the way of Bell Swans, much to the bemusement of Daniel Clements.
Yeah, as I said, I think they need to move to break through this back six, back seven, back eight sort of structure. They need to move the ball or move into pockets of space where basically it's going to ask some questions of these defenders to move themselves. And at the moment, Cookshill haven't done that often enough or at all in this game.
This feels they're making it work reasonably easy as Bell Swans drop this down into the box nicely off the head. Patterson on the ball again. And Woolston combining very well and gets to the outside here against Yaxley. Yaxley takes it away. Good defence one-on-one. Clearance not quite where they wanted it. They got away with it for the time being, but now Cable, nice little bit of footwork to get past one. Threads it out in front of Patterson. Patterson, that was a bit more artistic than it probably needed to be. And we're going to have a foul here. Woolston just collecting the keeper. No malice between either of them.
That was a very, very interesting cross, realistically. I would have preferred him to have used his left foot and knocked it in better, but as it was, he did a... Is that a Ronaldo? I don't know what that one's called these days, but yeah, a Rabono in it. Or what?
Yeah, I think that's what they call it, a Rabono.
A Rabono, and the ball just got to the edge of the 6-yard box and the keeper picked it up. So, yeah, but yeah, nice to see.
I was going to say, you would have been putting those strikes back in your days, I wouldn't have thought.
To be fair, I'd have fell over. I wouldn't have been able to do one of those. And all I sort of say is that realistically, if it goes up over the top of the keeper and someone heads it in, it's a good piece of play, but what he did there actually
didn't amount to much.
No, didn't amount to much.
No, exactly right. It looks pretty, but that's about it. So function over form is probably a better way that we want to see. They go forward now, Cookshill, and actually he's just had an air swing.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit aware of the Bell Swans player closing him down and took his eye off the ball.
Alston took that away from Patterson, headed it forward, and Hilton will track back. Got Yaxley down the line, but he's going to go back to Eisenhower. Patterson's going to get forward at him and just put the pressure on. Lodge gets the header. Matt Hall fortuitously finds Woolston. He's got Cable out wide, and Cable's going to look for a second, is he? Gets a strike away, deflection, and it finds the back of the net. Joe Cable's got a second, and Bell Swans lead 3-1 here at Fernley Dawes.
Another great finish there from Joe Cable. He shows his pace. Nice little bit of link up with Woolston. He's played him in. He's drove on, gone past the fullback, and then obviously the fullbacks tried to make the challenge to divert, but have only succeeded in diverting over the goalkeeper. But I think there, what you see is potentially, we haven't seen that from any Cookshill player in the final third. That driving, you know, there is a bit of space, but the capacity to drive in, exploit that space, and end up with an end product.
Yeah, it's certainly, we haven't really seen those, as you've touched on a couple of times, as midfielders pushing forward, or even the outside midfielders pushing in to try and create that threat, and it's where Bell Swans have looked dangerous. It's giving different looks for Patterson and Woolston. If they can't penetrate the defensive line, then they've got other players that can overload for them. And Bailey's going to take a strike here, but well wide of the target. I feel that's almost a bit of frustration from the left back there, that the guys in front of me aren't doing anything, so I might just take a pot shot.
That's right. I think he runs out of options. The angle's not really conducive for floating into the box, so he tries a shot. But every time I see them in a crossing position, I also see 6 to 7 yellow shirts defensively. And I think that's the problem at the moment. They haven't broken up that defensive structure enough to really give themselves a chance, but also ask some questions. Whereas I think with Bell Swans, they've asked a lot more questions defensively of Cookshill.
Dangerous opportunity here. Williams gets in behind. Benson gets into the box, but again, there's lots of yellow jerseys there. It falls fortuitously, but again, tracking back Lodge. You're attacking midfielders as the style that he's played predominantly today, Lodge. Just getting back and getting the work done. Cable, a little bit of frustration between Cable and Williams. Williams was hanging on to Cable's bootlaces, I thought, but Cable tried to shake him off. The referee not happy, but says to play on. And gone with a quick free, and now you're actually trying to work around, and just no one presenting. Lots of yellow jerseys in the box, and just calm, composed defending, forcing him back, and they come back and find their striker sitting deep on the edge of midfield. Bailey now works it in, tries to get it to the advantage of Williams, but would have had to be a very special ball to get that, and they give away a foul.
Again, momentum lost. It went sideways, 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 nowhere forward. You've got that big yellow wall in front of you, and at the moment it looks as though it's unbreakable. But I don't think, for me, Cooks are doing enough to ask those questions. I think it's all predictable, and while they're being predictable, I think Bell Swans are very happy and comfortable.
And it's interesting too, because we're talking at half time that Bell Swans are almost resting defensively as they come back to, and they're playing them, so they're going to have the energy. We already know, we've talked about, you know, the fatigue of Wednesday night, but they're going to have the energy just on the 90-minute balance here, because they're not forcing them to do much work because it's so predictable. So there's no mental decision making. They're just tracking back as a wall. Then the second wall of 4 comes back as well, and they get plenty of numbers in there.
And that's right. And then they're prepared to go straight front to back. But then the midfield players are then also prepared to go and support them.
Woolston now cutting into the box. A few Cookshill defenders there. Eisenhower does parry it down, and they'll have a corner. And fortunately for Daniel Eisenhower, the sun's gone behind the trees here at the far end of Fernley Dawes.
Good work again from Woolston, and I think fair play to the front two. They look a threat. Individually and collectively, they look a threat for Bell Swans. Every time the ball's gone forward, they've looked as though they've either combined or they've looked a threat individually with their running and their technical work. And again, here, with the quality of the ball in and the attack, or the way that Bell Swans attack the ball, you know, you're going to think there's a good opportunity here for another goal.
Tall Timber targets in there. Clayton curls it beyond the back post and headed away. London, that's just silly. He's going to be lucky if he doesn't get a card here. I'm not even sure why he tried to grab hold of Dobson there, but anyway.
I think it saved him chasing him for another 25 yards.
Yeah, that's possibly it.
And he got away with the card, so it actually worked.
That is a good result. I'm quite surprised. The referee's been pretty reluctant to feel the need to pull out cards here. And speaking of reluctant, it looks like Chris Zoricic is not going to be reluctant to make changes. He's got 3 players up and ready to go, and we may actually see the first appearance in the NPL this year for Jamila Oko by the look of it as well.
Yeah, I think at this stage now, things aren't changed, haven't changed. He's given them 15 minutes, and then it's really, well, let's see if the impact players can make the changes.
As we said, they have already had the 2 changes, so this will be their penultimate lot of rotation. One of those changes made at half-time and maybe forced a little bit by the injury in the first half. Those who aren't familiar, their team's limited to 3 rotations, so that's times they can change during play, but 5 players in total. Changes at half-time don't count as one of those rotations as such, so lots of little tactics and pieces that work into that, Brett.
Yeah, it definitely looks as though there is going to be 3 changes coming on. And you can see why, because at the moment, they don't look a threat.
So they've got to try something here. Right? They're behind by 2. We talked about how crucial that goal is. And as much as the excitement and momentum of Wednesday night, they'll be disappointed if they don't manage to back it up. This falls into the box. Bradley and Blunden just calm there, getting the body in front. He's a big physical presence. Matthews hustling around on Yaxley here. Yaxley turning him inside out. Does well, cross it into the box, but again, Blunden just there. That yellow wall, as we've called it, is just so ever-present for Bell Swans. You might think that they might have liked to have had that clearance over again. Absolutely skewed off the outside of the boot, so we'll see who's coming off here. I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if they make some changes in the midfield, because that's where you feel they're needing something. It'll be Benson, Wilson and Clements by the look of it. I don't think we've got a 4th official board over there, or if we do, we just can't make it out.
No, I just think that now they've got to change the way they're playing, because the way they're playing isn't actually succeeding for them. And to be truthful, Bell Swans are really happy with the ball being crossed into the box. You know, there's always plenty of bodies there, and it's not. And I think they need to ask more questions. And like I sort of say, I think from a midfield perspective, they need to get on the ball and start to ask some questions to link with the strikers rather than actually trying to play wide and trying to score from those positions. Because at this moment in time, it's not worked. And it's not worked for sort of 60, 70 minutes.
Some players coming on. Joel Clissold, Jamila Oko for his first start in the NPL this season. And Declan Hughes in the 16. Here's Oko here on the ball. Nice little touch straight away for Williams. You expect maybe a little bit of youthful exuberance and spark here might come from it. Here's Hughes on the ball as well. And they're a young side at the best of time, Cookshill, but these 3 youngsters coming on and looking to spark things to life. They need to score next. You feel Bailey dispossessed by Newton. He can't track it in, can he? Yes, he can. The ball boy was about to pick that up. That could have been ominous. That wouldn't have been a good sign if he had clattered into the ball boy reaching over onto the sideline. Now the ball down for Bailey. All of a sudden they look a little bit more promising. 3 players in the box and 1 at the top of the box. I have to feel that might have been the instruction from Chris Zoricic for these changes, is to go forward. But Clissold now for Hughes. He's going to thread it wide. Yaxley. Back to Hughes. Feeds it into Williams. Gets a touch outside Matthews. Crosses it towards the back post. Just a little too heavy, but far more promising from the men in black and white. Yeah,
Williams managed to roll and get round the back and provide the cross. But again, it's unfortunately not to anybody. You did have there were a couple of 3 in the box, which was a bit more promising, but that one eluded everyone because it was overhit and goes out for a throw-in.
Bell Swans continuing forward here. Bailey a little clumsy and aggressive there with the challenge, and we're going to come back for that. And just that extra little flick of the boot after the... I think he's getting frustrated a little bit. We said that with a shot before, but Patterson had the better of him there. Yeah,
they've struggled with Patterson and Woolston. I think both of those have done really well for Bell Swans. They're always a threat. They always keep the back 4 on their toes, and physically and technically, at the moment, they've come out the better.
They certainly have, and the scoreboard reflects that at 3-1. Yeah, these lights are going to have some work to do as the sun sets behind us at Fernley Doors. Lofted into the box dangerously from Blunden. It sits out the back, and Try and find something here. Falls fortuitously for the man with a bracing cable. Spins off the legs of Bailey. They get away with it for the time being. Clissold into Clayton.
I must admit as well, they're a credit to Mick Stafford, the way that physically they compete. They leave no stone unturned, and they give not a second to the opposition to be able to actually want or try and play.
And certainly, I think a lot of people would describe Mick Stafford, the way he goes about things, as a sort of blue-collar approach to football, and they're showing that, aren't they? They're happy to get gritty and go the distance, and they've done that a number of times this year, and it's really starting to pay dividends in recent weeks with that 5-game unbeaten run, which, if they continue this on here, will quickly become 6, and they'll be nipping at the heels of the top 5, which I think if you had said to people that sort of halfway through the season Bell Swans would be closing in on the top 5, you would have had a lot of surprised reactions.
Exactly. I think they'll sort of say that realistically they just wanted to be an NPL team for next season, but they're doing more than that. But the difference is that from where they've started, they've improved. They've got better. They've brought people in naturally. But realistically now, they're unbeaten for a reason. They're a half-decent team.
Cable working around, falls into the box. Hall was sniffing. They're really starting to pose a threat, and you can see that they're continuing to just push that advantage and push forward. Hall now just tries to lull the defence with a bit of a fade. That gives lots of room to Cable. He's going to cross this in. Racing away. Wilson nodded it on, but just couldn't square it up quite enough. But you have to say Eisenhower was left stranded, and the defence were just watching Wilson.
It was a great ball in again from Cable, and he's not only got his goals, he's been a threat every time, and showed his qualities. And Woolston sort of turned it towards goal, but unfortunately for me didn't really get great contact on it, because it was a great ball in, and it found its way the wrong side of the post.
We're going to see a triple change here. So it looks like, is that Joe Cable coming off? So he's not going to get his hat trick. Cable, Lodge and Hall coming off. And that looks like, is that Matt Ingham coming on? No, we've got here 13. We've got Kai Craner coming on. We've also got Sam Byers. And we'll identify who the third one is in a moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, that one, because Cable, I thought, was getting a lot of success and getting very, very confident out there. And as the game sort of developed, as they become harder, well, should we say, lacking that little bit of energy, I thought that Cable was certainly exploiting that.
Certainly looked dangerous, didn't he? But we'll see what they come with the fresh. It looks like Woodbine out there as well. He'll play out on the right, and he's equally as comfortable going forward as anyone in this squad. Lost into sort of no man's land position, headed forward by Clayton. Now Craner up against Clissold, and Clissold trying to out-position him, and that wasn't Clissold, sorry, it was Bradley. Now Woodbine. Newton, pass, quick picked off. Okay, out in front now. Hughes, a nice little touch, cutting back against the grain. Beats another. Woodbine lost his footing. London appealing for offside, but Williams was almost in behind, couldn't get a clean shot away on target.
Another good piece of defending, though, as well. Full credit, like I sort of said, wherever you are, whether on the right, on the left, they're putting their bodies on the line all the time and making it very, very difficult for Cookshill to really get any momentum.
Can't just unlock that defensive wall. You immediately see even those players that have come on, they're buying straight into that passage and the structure, as Patterson, again, just showing his smarts there, wasn't he? He knew that if he just held himself over the ball, being the stronger player, leant forward, he was going to go forward as soon as contact was made, and that's what happened. That's just smart.
But it is smart, but it was a great touch as well, because that's a hell of a kick that Abrahams has hit, and he's brought that down, used his body, and for me, I think now, he actually fancies finishing it, because I thought Wolstenholme would actually take this one, because this is now dead centre, and he's not hit bad strikes previously, so now we're dead centre, but it looks as though Patterson fancies it.
You got Woodbine there as well. Woodbine looks like he's lining up for it. So will it be the fake? Will it be... Well, Patterson curls it. Well saved. Good reaction from Eisenhower. He had to get horizontal to parry it away. It was well taken around the wall, the curl on it, but again, Eisenhower up to the task. He's had some challenging moments today, Daniel Eisenhower, but he's shown some good ones as well.
Yeah, it was a good stop, that. It was a decent strike, good stop, diving to his left, and, you know, as I said, from a decent strike as well.
Yeah, actually now this is faster and cleaner ball movement. Williams having to turn back to it. Gets a deflection and all of a sudden pushed wide. Bradley'd love to have that over again, but you touched on it before, Brett. Fast ball movement is going to be the key if they can unlock this, and it showed it just there. Yep,
they eventually got round the back, got asking some questions of them defensively. Williams puts a cross in, and to be fair, that's got to go in. That's got to go in. He's not struck it very well, and we'll be very disappointed that he didn't at least hit the target.
I think Kai Abrahams will be very thankful that it was well wide, because he was caught tracking back across from as the attackers look at the right to the left post. I think it would have had him beaten at the left. Again, Williams. Declan Hughes looks like he's unlocked something in their midfield going forward for them, which is nice to see, but they're going the other way now. And Myers pushes forward.
Yeah, game's opened up a little bit. Obviously, the tired legs and everything else, but the game as a game has opened up. So therefore, then it's a little bit more transitional, and this is possibly where now Cooks are looking a little bit more threatening on that transition when Bell Swans give the ball away.
Matthews looking for the long throw, headed in from Wilson. Patterson can't control it off the chest, and it's taken away now. Williams tracked back to help out. Head inside the final 20 or so here. Cookshill need to find something quickly. I don't think that ball's going to be it. It's going to fly out onto the tartan track. Matthews will take the throw in right on halfway. So you're shaping up to almost run through the halfway flag there. Going to go just past it, just to the left, and go the long throw. Just looking at Ian Matthews there, Brett, and thinking that's a bygone era, the tucked-in jersey.
Again, it looks as though they'll use his long throw to flick on for Patterson, and I think they've never looked comfortable defending this type of set play, Cookshill.
Matthews winds up. Can't quite get it to the target, but the ball does fall friendly for him, and now he can cross it in. That's a nicely weighted cross. Cookshill are going to have to do well to clear this out. Patterson hustling for it. Now Byers crossed it into the box again, and almost a mix-up there between defender and keeper, and Eisenhower saves their blemishes. Not sure what's come back here for chat with Bailey, I think, just to make sure he's okay. He must have been caught up in a collision. And the referee's just going to have a drop ball.
Yeah, I don't know whether it was the goalkeeper that came through him, because there was, but yeah, obviously dropped the ball.
It's just a sign of the fatigue starting to come in for Cookshill. A poorly directed pass. Here comes Matthews again with the throw. Going long again, looking for Patterson, and they find him. He tries to keep it in, but even his attempt to keep it in was far too much, and the assistant referee says it actually went across the sideline before he did that. Near the switch of play, and all of a sudden, starting to see these Bell Swans defenders having to move, which we haven't seen for the opening sort of 65 minutes or so.
But considering we're at 70 minutes, it's a credit, like I sort of said, how they get back into that shape as quickly as possible is a credit to the coach, because that you know, they're undaunted in trying to do that, and that's what makes them so difficult to break through.
Certainly is, as Kane Woolston goes into the book, just came back and decided to track back and clean up the player on the ball, but they turn it over here. And turn it back over again. Ocko with some nice touch in close quarters. Hughes for Williams. The flag goes up as he rattled the crossbar. Those little combinations of Williams, Ocko and Hughes.
It was unfortunate that because obviously on that transition they've had, and that's where the tiredness comes in as well for Bell Swans, giving the ball away when they've won possession cheaply. And then on that occasion, nice little bit of combination play. Unfortunately, Williams was just on the wrong side of the back four and was offside, but a decent strike that hit the crossbar.
Just a little bit more threatening. It might be an interesting pause for thought for Chris Oricic during the week. There's physical collision, both players going up for it. The boot up from Ocko. Playing on, says the referee. Clissold out wide now. He'll look to control it. Kiwi versus Kiwi. Clissold versus Clayton. Crossed too heavily, and again, that's been another blight of the game today for Cookshill so far, is just they do get themselves into good positions and have players in the box but can't find targets.
That's right, and it's frustrating, disappointing. You know, part of being that wide player is that awareness and ability to find others rather than just put the ball into an area.
Now Bailey trying to work around, nothing presents, and we go back to square one as they've done significant periods of this game so far. Cookshill is trying to work it around. Now they feed it forward. Williams, a nice little touch to get past Matthews. Matthews recovers and blocks it. Again, it's a good little battle here. Matthews, I thought he might have kept that in, but not quite, says the assistant referee, and Cookshill will have a throw deep in attacking territory.
He's stuck at it, Matthews and Williams. It is a good battle between those two, and it's about 50-50 at the moment, I think.
It's been a tough outing for Cookshill so far as Hughes pushes that well across the crossbar, but you have to think that what we've seen from Xavier Williams has got to be some food for thought for Chris Oricic. He's probably been the most impressive for mine since he's come on.
Yeah, he's been a bit more direct. He's got himself into some half-decent positions, you know, and I think that's probably what they've been after. And certainly he's provided some a threat, which potentially they haven't completely had that much of up to now. You know, I think they're getting a little bit more joy since they've made the substitutions. Maybe Bell Swans are getting a little bit more tired, so therefore shape-wise they're being a little bit sort of stretched a little bit more.
Nice touch there again. Hughes trying to go back for Williams. Continue to work it through. Spurway pushes it back, and now they go out to Bailey. This old shuffling, trying to hold his onside position to create something. Have to go back again. Ranging pass hit in between two players. Yaxley will pick it up. Got space down here on the right and uses Williams. All heavy with his touch there. Now he and Matthews go toe-to-toe again, and Matthews misdirects it over the sideline. Williams there for the throw from Yaxley. Crosses it into the box. Headed on target. Is it just to the right? Again, more promising. They're taking their chances and trying to have it, I guess, come back into this a little late.
Yeah, decent ball in, and he's not the tallest at the back post there, and he's diverted it back across goal, as the handbook says, but unfortunately it was a little bit more off target and didn't really trouble the goalkeeper. He didn't look as though he felt it was going to drop in.
Bell Swans here. It's 3 points there for the take. Cookshill are going to need something fairly significant to close this down in the final 13 minutes of regulation time. Especially this light just starting to make it more and more challenging here. It's going to be quite dim by the time we get to full time, with the sun almost fully set here in inner city Newcastle. That's probably not the best from Williams, I wouldn't have thought, and no, he's going to escape without a booking, but he's going to get a talking to.
But that's the frustration, I suppose, from the earlier giving the ball away. But then that's the naivety of then compounding the issue by giving a foul away. All that pressure is then released, and suddenly Bell Swans have got the ball.
They do, and they go long with it, looking for Patterson, and Yaxley looking more like they're cuddling rather than worrying about the football. I'm going to throw here again to Matthews, the long throw. an option. And Craner short that goes for Woolston. Everyone lost sight of where that had gone, and they cross it back towards central defence. Now Spurway's going to drive it forward, looking for the advancing Cookshill, but it picked off again. Nice touch there in close quarters. The first touch, second touch too heavy from Woodbine. Craner, an aggressive challenge, but gets the ball. You've got to make sure you execute those right if you're going to try them, and he did exactly that. Now, the All Swans forced to hustle and restructure their defence here. Clayton does well getting in. The ball threads through and easily taken by Kai Abrahams, who's happy to fall on it and take his time here.
There was a few more Cookshill players in the box, which was pleasing to see, and probably needs to be now all the time rather than just the once. But as I said, this is an important 5 minutes, because I think if Cookshill could get themselves a second goal, it might be an interesting finish to the game.
I certainly feel they could liven it up, but they need to do so quickly as we head towards the final 10 minutes here at Fernley Doors. You are watching Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel. Round 15 NPL men's match of the round. Bell Swans versus Cookshill. Bell Swans leading 3-1 in this crucial mid-table battle. 3 points here for either side, and looking like Bell Swans at the moment will give them a leg up as they chase down the top 5. And anyone departing here with none will be looking over their shoulder towards the relegation battle as we head into the back half of season 2025. Again, Bell Swans with a long throw, a little tap infield. Woolston chips it on. Byers. Defence does well getting back. And the last touch off Byers, so it will be a goal kick.
He'll be extremely pleased, I think, Mick Stafford, with his front two in the respect of how they've linked and what a threat they are all the way through to the back four. But overall, he'll be extremely pleased with his whole team, because they've been a credit in how they've gone about their duties, and they've given nothing away. It's been very, very difficult for Cookshill to really break through them.
Woodbine now chipping it on, looking for Woolston, and they're tracking back with Williams. Fed forward, but picked off. Woodbine sitting back in the pocket. Now they go forward. Ocko trying to get onto it, but London clubs it foot. Interestingly, just noticed that Patterson's pushed out to the right of midfield, and Woodbine sitting up front with Woolston now.
Yeah, I think there is some tired legs between that. They've done a tremendous amount of work to get into this position, and I think that's what they are as a group. I think they're all action. They leave no stone unturned, and if you're going to get 3 points against them, you're going to have to really earn it.
I think the Bell Swans faithful fans are going to have a fun journey on the way home through this season. They're going to play an exciting brand of football as we've seen today, and they're going to put in plenty of effort, plenty of grit, plenty of work, which the local community will love in their first season back in the NPL. So you'd encourage the Bell Swans fans to start getting down as a shot taken from range, deflected, and goes out for a corner. I tell you what, I wouldn't want to be a goalkeeper right now with the light sitting where it is. And
being a commentator is probably as bad, because it's pitch black out there. Really, you can only see a little bit in the corners.
I tell you what, Brett, if we miss the ball up here, it's probably not as dire as if Kai Abrahams misses something. But anyway, we'll let everyone know how hard we're working as they come forward. And it's beaten. I think everyone lost that one. But as we head into the final 7 or 8 minutes here, it's going to be, might be a few lottery balls going into the box, which could play favourably into the hands of Cookshill at the moment if they can get it to fall in their favour. A good physical challenge. Young Kai Craner doesn't hold back when he's going into these challenges, and he's been pretty successful in terms of finding the ball. And here he is, breaking free with some space. He threads it out wide. Woodbine's there. Will he go himself? Will he look to pull up for Woolston? Little step over, and then the defence comes to the fore. Hilton beats him out for it and just trickles it down the line. And come away here, all of a sudden now Cookshill going the other way. Yaxley with a nice first touch, second touch not so good.
But look at that. By the time that they've tried to, there's 6-7 players back, and like I said, that's a credit to coach and the players to actually then make sure that that's what's happening, because it doesn't always happen. Believe me, that players are tracking back like that, but. Definitely Mick's got to be proud of how they've performed today.
And to have that discipline, as you say, to continue doing that when you're up by 2 goals late in a game as the pot shots continue from Cookshill. It's not a familiar position for them, we know that. Just the 2 wins so far this season, so it's not like they're used to closing out games defensively either. So it's, credit to the discipline of the players.
We could probably say they haven't played for a little while, so they're quite fresh, but that still takes a lot of doing. Here we are 80 minutes in, and they're as determined as they were in the first minute to get themselves back and make sure that Cookshill aren't going to score.
That's it, they're closing this out with aplomb, just on 6 minutes remaining here at Fernley Doors, and Bell Swans with one hand on their 3rd lot of 3 points for the season. Just looking at some of the other results we've already had this weekend, that certainly will get them up into the top 5 race if they can maintain it here. Lambton having a win over Adamstown a little earlier today lifts them up to 16 points, equal with Newcastle Olympic in 5th. Olympic will hold that on goal difference. Well, the thing for Bell Swans here, they'll go up to 15 points. If they can maintain a 2-goal lead, their goal difference will sit even, which is also a key piece considering that this is only their 3rd win of the season.
But I think from judging them from today, and obviously this is the first time I've sort of come across, I think with the boy Patterson, it gives them an added dimension. They've got a goal threat. He's got good link-up play. He linked up well with his fellow strikers. And I think, as I said, overall, they've been solid defensively. They've worked really hard to get what they've had. And then they've shown the quality when they've needed the quality in the final third to score the goals.
Certainly have. And Adam Blunden gets a well-deserved break after a significant workload defensively so far this game. And all of a sudden a chance here to add to it. But the last touch couldn't quite get there. And I think that might be maybe Sam Kirk that's come on in the centre of defence and is about to get involved here, getting the pressure up on Ocko. All of a sudden, Williams springing in behind it, and Matthews just closes that down. That hustle. These two have had a really good little battle, but Matthews the work to still be working like this after 85 minutes when you're leading by 2 goals.
Well, as I said, it's amazing. I know we could say they've got something to hang on to, but that's not always the case with players, and that epitomises their performance.
Certainly does. There he is again. Doesn't fall the way he might have liked. Threaded through. Opportunity here, but again, just hustling, pressuring, and you look up again, 6 yellow jerseys, 3 black and white ones around the box.
Yeah, as I said, they've put their body on the line, and whenever there's been a sort of a 50-50, they certainly haven't shied away from making sure that they've got something on it.
I think what Mick Stafford would like if Bell Swans had been named for a few more matches of the round. They've had 2 matches of the round this year. And the first was round 1, 5-2, and then this one. So 2 from 2 in match of the round. The TV time slot suits them well, Bell Swans.
Yeah, as I said, today I think they fully deserve their performance has been, really strong from all the way through, and I think they've shown the quality in the right areas and have fully deserved to be where they are at the moment.
Headed into the box dangerously, a little bit of a collision. Ball still in play, cleared away. And the referee watchful. He's doing a wonderful job to be able to judge these contests in some dim lighting. Threaded forward now. Continue to work here. Woodbine with the little back heel. Byers coming through. Woodbine with a sliding tackle. They don't mind going in hard at the ball. This Bell Swans unit late in this one. Nice little ball from Byers into the box. Woodbine. Eisenhower does well.
Great little play there as well. And again, lost the ball, won the ball back, lost the ball, won the ball back, and then started to combine. But unfortunately, a little bit too close to Eisenhower, and he's come easily and picked it up.
Lissold now with the throw. Some updates from the other games. 3-0 Edgeworth against New Lambton. 1-0 Lambton against Adamstown, the last update we had late in that one. And 0-0 heading towards half-time, Western and Maitland. Western obviously backing up from that 120-minute effort against Edgeworth midweek to get them through to the Cup, going to penalties where they won 3-1 on penalties. Thought Patterson was going to bend down and pick up the ball then. The hands went down to it. I think he's just foxing his opponent. He's beaten 2, and now he goes on a run. Finds space. His effort that continues from Bell Swans. They want to ice this one. They cross it into the box, but Hilton's there. breaks it up, and we're going to see it crossed. Falls for Byers. He pops it in looking for Woodbine. They're not done yet, the visitors. Cookshill, can they find some late solace here and add to their solitary goal? Matthews picks that off and just clubs it forward. Nice little tap on here. Woolston turns him inside out, and he gets the final finish. Eisenhower stranded, and that's got to ice it. Bell Swans lead 4 goals to 1 in the shadows of full time as the shadows creep over Fernley doors.
Another great finish as well. You know, he's done the 2 players, got himself free, and then finished it off with aplomb. Lovely little finish, nice and controlled. And realistically, it's what they fully deserved as from a performance. Obviously, I think Cookshill have huffed and puffed, never really changed the way they played, and Bell Swans have actually dealt with everything that they've given them and given them more problems than Cookshill have given themselves. Which, as I said, Mick Stafford would be not only it's not only the result, it's the performance as well. This has deserved a result such as this because the performance has been spot on, and more so when they haven't got the ball. They've worked really hard from minute 1 to minute 90.
They certainly have, as we head into stoppage time now, and will be at the referee's discretion from here. It's been a resounding result and a resounding performance from Bell Swans, and it probably rings warning to a number of the sides that sit above them in the competition that this Bell Swans side aren't just here to make up the numbers in 2025. Cookshill will have to go back to the drawing board, although I'm sure they will reflect on the success of Wednesday night and the workload that's come with it. They've got lots of games to come throughout the season. This is just pushed across by Byers.
Well, I would just say that I don't think there's a team that realistically at this moment in time would want to take on Bell Swans, because that's why they're unbeaten in the last 6.
Shadows causing a few people to misguide and misread the balls coming into the box there, but Bell Swans do well. And yeah, to that point, it is, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter wins or draws. To go 6 games in a row without losing in a competition of this standard is, testament and, really just, I guess, as I said, testament to what Mick Stafford and his team have built here after a slower start to the season than they might have liked.
Yeah, and as I said, obviously the boy Patterson coming in has been a real big, strong plus, and his performance, if he continues to perform the way he has today, it's going to be, he's going to be a threat to any back four.
Mike Reiner just throwing himself around there in the midfield. I suppose you want to take the opportunity to show the coach, what you can add when you're coming in off the bench in a clinical performance like this from the squad. And it was an interesting one. We talked about it when those changes came on. We thought it might have been a risk to make those changes, but they've all slotted in so seamlessly into that unit, the way they've worked as a defence. And the referee blows full time here, and Bell Swans, they rain on the Cookshill parade here at Fernley Dawn. They wash away the cup afterglow for Cookshill. Brett, we talked about it. It was really impressive, that structure and discipline that went from minute 1 to minute 90 for Bell Swans. Without doubt.
There was no letting up. The way that they went around it, it was very difficult to break through it. They never gave an inch. Every time there was a 50-50 that needed winning, they put in a challenge, and it was very difficult for Cookshill. But not only that, when they had the opportunities, they certainly combined and they looked a threat, and their goal scoring was, the goals they took were with aplomb, and not a lot that Cookshill could generally do with it because of the exploitation of the people prepared to go and attack the ball or finish when they had opportunities.
Yeah, certainly a 4-1 scoreline seems fitting for how Bell Swans turned the screws, especially in that second half, and it was a double to Joe Cable. He got the opener. Kane Woolston and Drew Patterson also on the score sheet. Josh Benson, the sole goal for Cookshill. But look, it's been a massive week for Cookshill, but now a bigger finish for Bell Swans. And Bell Swans will head back down the highway with 3 big points, 6 games in a row unbeaten. They might just be turning into a little bit of a finals dark horse. We thank you for your company on the Northern New South Wales Football's YouTube channel. Remember, it is your home of all men's and women's NPL throughout season 2025, first and reserve grade, live and free, and we look forward to bringing you more games across the remainder of the season.